so quickly. It's my early shift at work. It's just gone about 6 o'clock in the morning. Thankfully the roads are lovely and quiet, and we will do another fragrance drive along. I'm absolutely shattered today, I'm not going to lie. But I've got a bit of a talking point. Normally I sort of not quite 100% sure what I want to talk about today, but today we're going to talk about, very simply, smells that have sort of caused me some stress over the years. So this isn't particularly fragrance related so much, but it's some stories about bad smells mainly that have, kind of got me into a bit of a panic, let's say. So we're going to go straight into it. I've just driven past my old school, my old primary and secondary school actually, but it's my secondary school which we're going to talk about. And it was when I was in sixth form, which was basically like your college years at school. And I'm going to call this one the poo shoe. Yes, the poo shoe. So when you're in sixth form, and now I was quite lucky, I only lived a few minutes away. So you used to get free lessons, and that was essentially like your time to do some work, or just general study, maybe sit in the common room, we used to call it, where everyone could sort of socialise. I used to go home. I used to have my lunch, watch the TV and come back in. And I remember it was around the Wimbledon tennis time, so in sort of May, June time, and I was walking back in, just had my usual clothes on, because you didn't have to wear a uniform in sixth form, it was just whatever clothes you wanted. I was doing a sport course, so I had my sporty I had these white Velcro shoes on, and basically where I walk, there's a pedestrian path, and then there's a bit of grass, and then there's a cycle lane, and you have to kind of go across the cycle lane to get to the crossing. And so I crossed over, I walked across the grass, which you can probably see what's going to be happening here, and anyway, crossed the road, went to my lesson. The problem was, I went into my lesson and thought, there's a not very nice smell here, and I was thinking, is that me? And I'm thinking, well, it's obviously not, it's dog poo. I can tell you it's that smell. I look at my shoe underneath, and there's a huge lump, and I mean a huge lump of dog poo. I can see it on the side of my shoe. So I'll be honest with you, I got in a little bit of a panic. I'm thinking, that's not good. And it kept coming in waves. So 1 minute I could smell it, then it kind of disappeared again, and then it came back. It was absolutely horrible. But the problem is, I'm sitting next to people and I'm on the computer, and I'm just thinking, they're going to be thinking, what on earth, who's got that? And I just thought, oh no, they're going to know it's me. I've got poo all over my shoe. So, moving on to that car in front, I knew it was going to do that. There's some very bad driving at this time of the morning, I must admit. And now they're getting stuck at the lights. So what did I try and do? Well, I'm going to be honest here, and this isn't the right thing to do, but I could see a bit of it was sticking out on the side of my shoe. Decided to try and wipe it on the carpet. Yes, I managed to get a bit of the poo off my shoe and put it on the carpet. Now, the problem I had with that was it didn't really make the smell go away, because I didn't move. And thankfully, for this whole 2 hours which I was in lesson, nobody said anything. The second I got back, though, I got a bit of, I used the watering can and the grass outside just to try and wipe it off. So, you can imagine the stress of everyone thinking I smell of dog poo. Going into university, so where I'm driving now, I'm sort of going to end up close to my university. I'm working near that. I can tell you this story. So you have things called freshers' fairs. So when you start at university, essentially they're like a place for everyone to meet up, meet people on your course. You can introduce yourself. Now, I was living at home with university, so again, I didn't really want to go to these things, but I thought I better try and just go for this one night. So I did go for this night, and I remember there was this girl nicknamed the BO girl. Yes, the BO girl. Basically, there was a girl there who I again never saw her after this course, but she stank a BO basically, and it became this big talking point around the whole night. I remember I was sitting on this sofa with a couple of people doing a history course or an English course, and they were like, "Oh God, here comes the BO girl. We need to move." And honestly, I'll be honest, she did smell very strong of BO. It was very problem, considering we were in a big sort of nightclub disco hall. It certainly drew attention, but everyone was kind of playing like this game of like, how far away can you get from her, and it must be horrible for this poor girl. She probably doesn't even know what's going on, and she probably can't really smell it on herself, and everyone avoiding her basically because she smelled the BO. So that wasn't particularly nice, and again, it's very hard with smell, because sometimes you don't realise actually how you smell. Sometimes, you know, I've said this before, if you've sat in a car, or like I am now, and you've got this really strong fragrance on, you're going to become a bit nose blind. If someone then gets in the car, they'll go, oh, smells nice in here. Or if you've been farting or something, they'll go, oh, it stinks in here. You know, but you become a little bit nose blind to it. So yeah, that was another story at university. And then when I went on to my second job actually, but it was in the same company. I was initially a receptionist. I then got quite a lot of compliments while being a receptionist, actually, because a lot of people liked the fragrances I wore, obviously, and being in an office job, it was the perfect place to do it. It's kind of where I started interested in smells and fragrances. But it was then when I went on a training course. So when I became a sports coach, essentially you had to become qualified to coach archery. You get these national qualifications, rifle shooting as well. And I was staying with two people who I was going to be the sports coaches on my part. So that everyone from these 30 parks essentially went to this same place to do their training for 2 weeks. And the person on my course, his name was, well, I won't say his name anyway, just to protect him here, because he wasn't the most sensible lad in the world, let's put it this way. We were very different people. Anyway, he was much more of an outgoing sort of party boy, and he actually had Lamar with him during that trip, which I did spray a bit, because to be honest with you, in the 2 weeks we were there, he only slept in our caravan 3 times, I would say. Now, of course, he took the double bed. Now, he was the tallest person of the three of us, to be fair, but anyway, I wasn't bothered. I was used to a single bed, but they were tiny. Anyway, a couple of nights before we left, so he hadn't been staying there at all. I was thinking, great, I've got the whole night to myself, because my other colleague, he was starting to get interested in this girl, so he was staying with her overnight, sleeping on the sofa. So I had the place to myself, but of course I couldn't lock the door because I was worried that they might want to come back in. So I could never really sleep. I kind of went 2 weeks without sleeping. But anyway, this one night, or 2 nights before we go, I hear someone come in, and it's this guy who's obviously been drinking. Who was one on one of the coaches. And I could tell he'd been drinking because he was stumbling all over the place and whatever. And I had my door perched halfway open. And I just see him basically sit on the front step with a big duvet. Now we're planning to leave, I believe, that day or that morning or the day after. Next thing you know, I'm going, what's that smell? And it was the smell of, let's say, weed or cannabis. And if anyone knows that smell, it's very, very strong. Even outdoors, it leaves a massive trail. So he's sitting there with his blanket there, and I can't actually. I had to open my window. It was so strong because the wind was blowing it into the caravan. Again, I said where he's got that from, I have no idea. But the problem was the next morning or the day after. I think we left that next day in the end. I think we changed our mind. So I'm trying to reach for a buttermint if I can find one. It stank. So of course you've got the cleaners coming in. The park's just about to open for guests, and yeah, I'm thinking we cannot leave this, because again, our manager's going to find out that the cleaners have reported a very strong smell of the cannabis in our caravan. So you're in a panic. You're thinking, well, we've got to get rid of this smell. So I'm spraying my Aqua de Palma Pura at the time, and I'm just like, we're going to be in so much trouble. Obviously I'm not going to be in trouble because I haven't done anything, but if we go back and our park's responsible for this horrible smell. So yeah, that was a bit of a worry for me, and it certainly kept me up all night. I hate that smell, I must admit. That sort of horrible green cannabis smell just isn't for me. Have I ever to be honest, I've had a few situations with fragrances that have made me feel a bit uncomfortable in the past as well. So I've said this before, retro fragrances can make you feel uncomfortable at times. I remember smelling, well, I felt I smelled a bit because I was in a school at the time, and I did a lot of the sports stuff, and I kind of went out that morning to do there's a bike on a dual carriageway, and there's a cycle lane literally the other side. So anyway, yeah, I remember thinking, I smell a bit sweaty now, not BO, just sweaty, and I put Ted Lavender's trail, but it was a scent that I wasn't overly comfortable with in terms of it doesn't really suit me. So when people were sort of knowing it was me, I was like, oh, I want to wash this off, but I just douse my top in it. You know, when you've actually made your top soaking wet because you sprayed so much fragrance, it was essentially that. And yeah, that made me feel a bit uncomfortable as well. I mean, in terms of other horrible sort of smells, at the moment at home, well, my parents are back now. Actually, they finally got back after a month away yesterday, but for the last sort of couple of weeks it's started to die down now. We've had this really horrible smell in our dining room. Now initially I thought it was these roses we bought, so we bought some roses to kind of remember my nan's passing 6 years ago, and you know, it was like, we were like, oh, this smells a bit horrible here, but the problem was we thought, oh, this smells like dirty pond water. So we said, oh, it's got to be the flowers, you know, nothing else has changed. And they've been there for 4 or 5 days. But we were looking up and it said, oh, roses don't really have a smell. I said to my brother, though, I said, it's got to be that. There's no other justification for this smell. So we threw it away. But then we thought, oh, the smell's not going. And then I said, oh, it's probably just that there may be a bit of water on the table from it, a bit of pond water. But it was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And we were like, no, this is something else. And what we think, because the smell's horrendous in this cupboard, so we pulled everything out of the cupboard. There's kind of in the wall, there's kind of a piping that links the cupboard in the kitchen to the dining room, and we think there might be a dead rat in there. The smell's still a little bit pongy, and we've got an automatic air freshener now in there since my mum and dad have come back, because they can smell it, but compared to what it was like, because if you had the door shut and it was hot on the day, the sun was out, and you open that door, it would actually make, I mean, it made my brother gag. He said it was so bad. So yeah, we've hopefully changed that now. We've left the door open. It does seem to be, I think it just seems to be decaying, whatever that horrible smell was. I finally found a buttermint, by the way, I'm glad. So yeah, that's another one. In terms of other times where smell has been a bit horrible, I mean, to be honest, I can tell you one recently. So I do handling a lot of raw fish at times, and one of the places, well, when I was at work recently, Christmas time, we weren't allowed to park in the car park. Now, of course, when I'm handling raw fish, I have to have an apron. Now, I'm someone who likes the smell of, well, no, I take that back. I don't like the smell of raw fish. I like eating fish, so the smell of raw fish doesn't make me feel particularly uncomfortable or sick or anything like that. But for my mum, and to be honest with you, for the rest of my house, they're not a really big fans of fish unless it's just like a bit of cod that's cooked in batter. Whereas I'll eat anything, tin sardines, whatever, and they do stink. But because I like the food, it doesn't really bother me. But anyway, I had this apron. Sometimes fish can be quite slimy, and of course, sometimes just naturally I was just kind of rubbing my hand on my apron. My mum picked me up because obviously I said I couldn't park in the car park, and she actually sort of had to kick me out of the car. She said, we can't go on until you take that apron, because I left the apron on because, again, I couldn't really smell it. I don't think it's that sort of strong. Well, I do think it's strong, but it didn't feel that strong to me. So I actually can't drive back with you having that on, so I actually had to take my apron off, put it in my bag, and wrap it in another apron I had to just kind of mask the smell, because it was that pungent. So yeah, there's a lot of situations. I remember once as well, this wasn't so much a smell, but we were talking about poo earlier. Beach on holiday. Someone had obviously left their dog poo on the beach, walking in flip-flops. My foot went straight in it. You can imagine how horrible that was. I was disinfecting my foot for days. But yeah, let me know if you've had any stories. We're nearly at work now. Let me know if you've had any stories of bad smells, or smells that have given you a little bit of stress in your life, because there's certainly been a few for me. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced the odd dog poo situation, which can be very infuriating as well. But yeah, any times where you think you've worried about smelling, or someone around you smelt that's put you off, or just something, let me know, because I'd be interested to hear them. I'm sure you've got some funny stories. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you later.